What is coaching really? In this video, I'm going to go over what makes up coaching and what is coaching not. So, when we think about coaching, coaching is the link between the program and the athlete actually becoming better. If we look at these images below, we can see that coaching is the link between program and athlete success. Majority of the time as coaches, we love the programming side. We love the sets, the reps, the tempo, being able to actually hone in exactly what adaptations we're trying to get out of. But what happens is sometimes we lose the sight of coaching. So we have to understand what coaching is to get the link between the program and the actual athlete having success. So when we think about coaching, defining it is so important. Coaching is an ever changing communication process between athletes, coach, data to adapt within the program structure to organize daily performance. This means when we look at this definition, it's constant communication with the athlete. It's either athlete to athlete, coach to other coach, or even coach to data or athlete to data. There are so many moving parts within the coaching communication process that we have to understand what we're trying to communicate and create clarity within that communication process to allow the athletes to know exactly what they need to do to have success on that specific day of training. When we look at coaching, we have three main components when it comes to coaching. We have relational. This is building relationships with the athletes. This is where we're caring for the athletes as a human being before the athlete themselves. We look at culture, how athletes interact with the program, facility, other coaches, other athletes. What is the atmosphere that the athletes actually experience while they're with you in the facility that we have? We lastly look at professor to educate athletes on the training to achieve success. This means we're looking at how to actually be able to educate them and teach them what they need to know to have the greatest amount of success. Relationally, we're looking at mentorship, leadership. This is critical when we're looking at understanding athlete success, leading them in a way that allows them to have the greatest chance of having success, encouraging them when they think they can't do something, seeing athletes hesitate when they get to a barbell or hesitate to gain weight or lose weight or do the thing they need to do to allow them to have success. It's a long-term thought process. It's giving them insights to understand that, hey, you are so nearsighted that we need to think long term. If we do something irrelevant today, that may have an effect 3 weeks down the road. And the ultimate goal is to have success at ultimately what they want to do, which is to have success on the field. Facilitate them to the path of success. When we think about being able to have success, we know exactly as coaches what the athlete needs, but the athlete wants to do what they want. And we have to be able to build that relationship, that trust on the front end to allow them to actually be able to have success. Habits lead to success. As coaches, we've all played sports. We've all been within the strength and conditioning industry. But what are the habits that we've done that we can pass down to these athletes to allow them to have the ultimate success possible? Easy enough, connect with the athletes. Ask them about their siblings. Ask them about their family. Any vacations? What are they wanting to be like after sports if they don't have a future in sports? Culture, high energy, created pace. So what is the pace you want in their weight room? And this may depend on the training day. If it's a high output day where we're lifting a lot of weight, it might be a high energy, high effort day. Where on days that may be a lighter day, we may have a slower pace, a lighter cadence in our voice. But being able to change the cadence, change the vocals of what we're trying to do as a coach to drive the specific energy for the athletes on that specific day. Keeping them focused, understanding that these athletes will lose focus sometimes and bringing them back. Organization. How does the athlete flow through the weight room? Having a facility agenda, knowing exactly what the athletes need to do at a specific time with a specific requirement allows them to know exactly what they need to do and focus and stay organized. and ultimately looking at the vocals and saying what we need to say in a clear, communicative standpoint to know exactly what the athlete needs. Lastly, the professor. It's too easy. Educate. Why are they doing this exercise? How does it relate to their actual goals? If they're just doing an exercise because you want them to do an exercise, but that doesn't actually help them with their goal, which is to play the sport that they love more and better, then it's going to be really hard to get them to buy in. We look at the daily process of training, educating them on, hey, you need to stay hydrated before you come into the training session. You need to be able to have enough sleep, and you need to be able to eat enough to maintain the muscle mass or trying to gain muscle mass. It's communicating how to optimize the training session and adapt when they need to, and understanding that some of these athletes want to learn. They want to understand the nuances, the nitty gritty of strength and conditioning, and being able to actually educate them, walk them through the process, and allow them to have success. Driving curiosity to learn and understand the training. Don't ever stifle an athlete when they're curious about an exercise. If they're asking, hey, why do we do this exercise? Hey, how do I do this exercise? How does this relate? They're trying to understand. They're trying to learn. This is a great way to not only educate the athlete, but also be able to drive trust and connection with the athlete. We have to be able to communicate as a professor from the data to the athlete. We have to know what the data means, how we're collecting it, why is it important, and then be able to clearly communicate that to the athlete and show them, hey, you're getting better, you're doing what I'm asked. Or if they're not, how can we adjust their thought process, their habits to allow them to have success? When we look at everything we need, we look at also the physical and verbal awareness of movement. When we think about educating, we have two types of cueing. We have physical, which is using touch to make adjustments or an awareness to desired movement, or we have verbal. When we think about verbal, this is where we're actually communicating with our words what the athlete should be feeling, how this exercise should be done, and to get the desired movement, to get the desired adaptation. When we look at cueing, there's internal, external, and sensory. When we look at internal, that's something internal. So if I say rib cage down, that's internal to their body. Versus external, hey, I want you to curl up in a ball. So that means it's the same thing, but different language allows different athletes to understand how to get into that range of motion. Most athletes don't know rib cage or specific muscles or bones of the body. So if we're always using internal cues, some of these athletes will not know what that means and will not get the desired outcome. Whereas every athlete can understand, hey, curl up in a ball. Try to get your chest down to the ground. Being external to the body allows the athlete to have a little bit more understanding of what we're trying to get the athlete to do. Versus sensory, hey, you feel blank, that's it. So if you want them to feel a specific thing and they're feeling it, draw attention to that. So then when they come back to that exercise, they actually know what they're trying to feel. This is something I've created, which is cue stacking. This is creating very simple cues to start and building the complexity of the cues to a higher level. For example, for a lunge, it's, hey, cue one, hey, take a big step back, touch your back knee to the ground. That's the easiest and simplest way to teach an athlete how to lunge. But now, cue two is we're going to squeeze the glutes and drive the rib cage down, curl up in a ball, or plank position. That's one level more. We have to realize some of the athletes that we will be training have no concept of how to train or what a lunge is. And we have to set up the athlete not only with a correct exercise to allow them to have success, but as coaches, we need to use cues and specific amount of complexity of cues to allow them to even have a greater amount of success. We look at Q3, drive your front knee to the opposite pelvis. So now we're rotating that pelvis, allowing us to drive a little bit more internal rotation out of that front hip. And then breathe out while you're at the bottom, blow out the birthday candles to drive a little bit more obliques. We can see with this cue stacking that each one is a little bit harder. And as coaches, on day one, we may only use Q1. Or if an athlete is amazing at Q1 within the first couple reps, let's go to Q2. Let's go to Q3. Let's say they struggle with Q3. For that week, we can go back to Q2 and allow them to get used to Q2 and then move into Q3, allowing them to, hey, we are progressing. And we have to think of progression as execution progression, not so much load or exercise progression. When we think about coaching, again, we have three main components: professor, relational, culture. And we have to be able to, as coaches, bridge the link between the program and the athlete success. Coaching is going to be the most critical thing to athlete success. Systems drive success, so start building.